love just like you do, and you better give her all the love that she needs and deserves. You are now listening to the station that loves music and loves life, and the show that has the woman right at the middle, at the center of every conversation that we get to have from 11 till 11:50 on Wednesdays. Because it's Woman Crush Wednesdays, we can as well make it Soul Sister Wednesdays. So, Soul Sister is the name of the show, and like I told you, it's about the woman, for the woman, by the women. Well, the brothers are welcome. They can take a back seat and sometimes chip in their thought and their contributions. And if they have a question, because a man also does not exist in isolation, he most likely has a wife, a mother, a sister, a daughter, a niece, and so on. So you're welcome to be part of the conversation. And today, just like every other conversations we've had on the show, it will be enlightening, illuminating, and definitely educative. We're going to be talking about entrepreneur, but from a mother's perspective. And you're probably wondering why a mother? What exactly is the take and the perspective you're bringing to the conversation? That's why you have to stick around for the next 50 minutes to find out. And you can always be a part of the conversation on YouTube, where we're streaming live. That is at Smooth 91 FM Lagos. At Smooth 91 FM Lagos. If you want to ask a question or maybe you want to clarify something you have heard, that will be on WhatsApp, and that will be 0809 444 0981, while the call line is 0201 448 9981. My name is Oluwaseun, and my guest this morning is a very, I dare say, passionate individual, especially in her journey. She is not just an entrepreneur, but she's one who uses storytelling and creative arts to raise awareness and advocates for children with special needs. She has done a lot of things and has been recognized for a number of them. And she is the author of the first ever Nigerian produced baby board book, that is Ugo and Simsim, and Ugo and Simsim, Fruit and Vegetables. She's a founding member of the Association of Children's Authors and Illustrators of Nigeria, and she's also a committee member on the Creative Industry Development Bill for the Office of the Presidency. She's also a producer and co-host of two podcasts, and one of them is Special Moms Africa, Real Talk on Special Needs Parenting, and also the one she does alongside her son, that is Represented, Storybooks and More for African Kids. So please welcome with me the founder of Simone's Oasis, and that is Tonye Faloughi-Ekezie. I love the way you pronounce your name. Welcome and good morning.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, everybody.
Okay, so I have a lot of things to get into.
I'm ready. Let's get it.
The first is your entrepreneurial journey. So many times when people, maybe children, you ask children, what do you want to do? They would say they want to become a doctor, they want to become a nurse, they want to work for someone, they want to wear a suit and all. So when you were starting out, at least when you could make your own career choice, did you envision that you were going to be an entrepreneur, you were going to be solving problems, meeting needs, or you were going to be in the corporate space?
Well, I knew I definitely was going to be in the corporate space. And my dad is an entrepreneur. So even if he encouraged us to, go to university and get a good job, he was always like, you always have to start your own business. Make sure you start your own business. That's how I did it. I started my own business, and that's how I made it big, So he always put that spirit of entrepreneurship in us, even though he said, get a good job on the side. Your side hustle must also be there. So we kind of grew up with that, and he's self-made. So it's kind of in the blood. Somehow, me and my siblings, even those ones that have corporate jobs, like my sister who's in insurance, she also has an agricultural company. So she helps farms and things like that. So, yeah.
So how has this entrepreneurship journey been like, especially as you are in the media and you're creating, you're telling stories, you're meeting people with different mindset and all?
It's mad. I don't know what made me pick this side. No, but this is the thing, is that I never really knew as a kid what I was going to be, right? Most kids are like, oh, I'm going to be a footballer. Like, that's my son, right? Or, I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be, no, I just knew I would be somewhere in the media entertainment space. And I studied media and classics in university, and then my master's was in audiovisual production.
Mm.
And so what happened is that when I finished, and I had been modeling during that time, and I wanted to get out of modeling. My mom had breast cancer, and I wanted to kind of spend more time with her. She's healed. She's doing great, everybody, so don't worry. And my sister happened to go to a party and see Obi Asika there.
Oh.
And they started talking. He was saying he was doing Big Brother Nigeria. And she was like, ah, my younger sister, so remember that one you met when she was younger? That let her send the CV. She just graduated, Master's Audiovisual Production. She's been working on productions in the US. And back like that. I entered Big Brother Nigeria, and that's was meant to be just 3 months in Nigeria. Well, what year are we in now? I'm still here. And that's really how my career in media entertainment kind of started, and what a way to start. From that, I was headhunted by several organizations, ended up going with Mnet. So I was based between Lagos and Johannesburg, worked, I commissioned Tinsel, worked on Idols, Big Brothers, all those things. But I kind of hit the glass ceiling for a Nigerian, and they didn't want to put me. It's after I left there that they started to put Nigerians in higher positions. So from there, I actually went to work for Obi at Storm and started their production unit, so that it wasn't just the record label. It was now a production unit, and then I was GM overall. And that was great. But a couple of years after I started getting itchy feet, my dad was like, isn't it time? Aren't you going to? And then I started my own production company, Tee Off Media. And we kind of expanded beyond production. We also did branding, we did events, and we had really great clients, big brands. We did the first ever martini commercial in sub-Saharan Africa. We increased sales of the luxury brands we were working for, whether it was the car brands, alcohol brands. We were doing very well. Very small business, so it was only like 3 employees, and everybody is like project based. Very efficient, very streamlined, high quality. But then what happens to us women now? You meet one fine guy,
Sweep you off your face.
swept you off. No, nothing like that. We're so unromantic, but we love each other. We get each other very well. It's like my guy, my best friend. I married my best friend. So 2012, got married, and the year pretty soon after that got pregnant and had my son in 2013. And the conversations we had about a couple is that, how do we intend to bring up the children that we're going to have? What does it look like? Am I going to be out hustling, or am I going to take time off to really kind of be present in their first couple of years of life? The most formative, the most important time in a child's life. And we discussed it, and I said, I'm going to slow down. I want to be at home at least for the first couple of years of each child. I went away to boarding school at age 6 to the UK. My parents didn't move to the UK, but I was in boarding school from the age of 6 to 18 in the UK. Brilliant experience. But as a parent, when I think of sending my child at that age, my parents were gangster, like gangster, hardcore. So, the business was still running. We were still doing good business, but slowed down. And then I pretty much got pregnant soon again with my daughter. And that's kind of when everything changed, because at 4.5 months, she was diagnosed with Down syndrome. And then a couple of weeks after that with heart failure, and given 6 months to live. And so everything just stopped. Everything completely stopped. And we had to take care of her. And there wasn't anybody that could do the kind of heart surgery that was needed. And so we had to go. Me, my mom, and my daughter, who was about 5 months, went straight to the US, got off the plane, bathed, went to the hospital, and they didn't let us leave the hospital. That's how bad her condition was. And it all panned out. She had heart surgery, life-saving heart surgery, And what should have been like a 3 month recovery actually ended up being 3 years. So I had to close my business, because this was more important to get her well, and get her thriving, you know. So it wasn't even that we were dealing with the Down syndrome. We had to get her to health, good health, so that she could live and live a good life. So, like 2018 is now when we returned back again. My husband and son had been here, and then my daughter and I had been in the US. So it was kind of a reuniting experience, which was amazing, but something that happens in a lot of mothers, not just the special needs mom, is that when you become a mom, you kind of lose your identity. You lose who you are because you are immersed and consumed by motherhood. You forget who you were before then, and it's everybody first. You are the last thing. So when we came back and we reunited, and the children adapted really well, Simone, my daughter, adapted really well, and everybody seemed happy, but I was not. I was so depressed. I was so down. I was so depressed because I saw it like this. I had had this really good career, and that was gone. And then I had had this mission to save my daughter's life, right? Everything consumed by it, and suddenly that was gone. And then I'm here. I'm like, oh my gosh, who am I? And it was a full-on existential crisis. And I think that's something that's not really talked about enough. What that can transition to motherhood can do for a woman and her mental health. But as like I said, I married a good man, and I married my best friend, and he was just like got tired of me moping around and said, Tonye, you know what? For how many years now you've carried this family, you've held up, you've made sure everything has worked out. You can chill, you can give yourself a break to figure things out. You don't have to be on yourself all the time. Take a time away. Stop, wait, and listen, and God will tell you what to do. And I'm a super hyper person, which you probably guessed by already. And that was really difficult, but I did it. And that's how it happened. One day I was just watching my children play, and Simone was struggling with a toy. Downs, they have issues with development, with fine motor skills, group motor skills, cognitive development. But as long as you work with them, they can live an amazing life. They can have jobs, they can get married, they can be upstanding members of society, and just wonderful people to know. But my son immediately just helped her. They worked together, and they were just giggling and playing, and it was such a beautiful moment to witness that kind of banked in my memory. And I don't know, it just sowed something in me. Then maybe about a month or so later, my son comes to me. I'm upstairs in my office. I don't know what work I was doing, but I was in my office typing away, probably because I also work. I manage some things for my dad, and he's literally, I gave birth to my dad. He's literally an old man. I was teasing him about this yesterday. Like, he's literally like an old soul. He was like a grumpy old man as a baby. So he comes up to me. He's like, Mommy, I don't like it. So I don't like what's going on. I said, babe, what's going on? So every day these people come to play with Simone, and they stop me from joining. It's not fair. Oh, wow. So I realized he thought that these people were just like really nice people, but they were just for Simone. But I had to explain their therapist because she has something called Down syndrome. What's Down syndrome? So I start to explain, Down syndrome is when you have an extra chromosome on the 21st pair. So instead of 46 chromosomes, they're born with 47. What's a chromosome? I struggled, and I did a terrible job. But it got me thinking about, how can I explain this to my son in a better way? And I've been reading with my kids since they were in the womb, right? Mm-hmm. Even when I was pregnant, I would read to them. So there were always books around. So I was like, let me find some books. There must be something on this, right? Oh, was I disappointed? So there was nothing that featured a Black family. Even if you're not even talking about Down syndrome, I couldn't find anything with a black family, let alone we say Nigerian or African. Then I couldn't find anything with a black character with Down syndrome, because for me it was very important to find something that reflected us. But I managed what I found, which was books that had, Caucasian characters, and even then, they were one-offs. You don't get to continue enjoying the character. And I just thought to myself, I can create the story how this conversation with Ugo, that's the name of my son, how it should have gone. And that's what I did. I recreated that as a story, and I got it illustrated, and I went to a printing shop and I printed 2 copies each for them, and I gave to them. And their reaction was not what I thought. I thought, okay, but they were so over the moon. They couldn't believe they were looking at themselves. They just were so impacted. Anytime anybody came to the house, they brought out this book. Look, mommy, look, I'm in a book.
Oh, dear.
And that kind of started to plant that seed. And because my background was in TV and film production, I thought, okay, maybe I can do something with this. And it was a friend of mine who I also found out that had a son with Down syndrome, her coming over, that really motivated me to say, okay, let me see if I can get a publisher and publish. And it was tough, because not only do you get rejections, there were really personal rejections. People telling me that it was a stigma and a shame. I shouldn't be sharing stuff like this, that no parent is going to buy this for their child. Nobody's going to read about Down syndrome with their child. So they were shaming me. But because I had already started connecting with other people who had children with disabilities, with cerebral palsy, with Down syndrome, with autism, I knew directly, because I'm also a member of that community, right? It's not something I'm doing for business. This was just something out of my own personal need. That I said, no, this is not adding up. And so I started to look into self-publishing, and I ended up self-publishing. And it was last year, after selling 5,000 copies on my own, that publishers now started to knock on my door. And I chose from publishers here in Nigeria that were approaching me. And I chose Reader Publishing because Oluwaseun understood. She got it. It's not just about creating books for children. There's a whole purpose behind this. And I think that is what is common for female entrepreneurs and fempreneurs, as people say, whatever. But what is unique to female entrepreneurs is that our businesses start because there's a problem to be solved. We see something, or we experience something in our lives, and we want to solve it, not only for ourselves, we want to solve it for society. And it's proven through data, through research, that when you invest in women, the returns are far beyond, what the expectations are usually for business. And the impact it has within the community is also positive. So when you support women, you support the growth and the betterment and equality and equanimity of society. And it benefits everybody. So for me, I didn't know I was doing this grand thing, right? It's just been organic out of a need I had. And from those books and the need I had to help my daughter, we started to look at, okay, she loves music. Maybe let me hit up some producers. Let me see something. Maybe we can create some music. Then I found out I could write music. And so we started creating songs. And one of the songs, Nigeria 36 States, is used by schools to teach children the 36 states of Nigeria. Let them not make it 37, or else I'll have to rewrite the song. But that has been a way for teachers to kind of introduce the concept of Down syndrome, introduce the concepts of uniqueness into the classroom. Or when it's a month like this, October is World Down Syndrome Awareness Month, they can bring out my book. They can bring out the videos. I went to my son's school yesterday, and I had done something. So I was wearing our Simone's Oasis t-shirt. And one of the kids was like, wait, you're Simone's Oasis? And I'm like, yes, I start Simone's. Oh, I love your books. Even though I'm old for them now, I still, if you now confess, I still read them. But it's impactful. It's impactful. So our businesses are not just about doing numbers. Yes, we want to be successful, we want to be profitable. But I know from my experience that there's a purpose behind it. The purpose being to empower our children, whatever their ability or disability, right? Because we grew up not seeing ourselves. I had grew up with one foot in Nigeria, one foot in the UK. I know that we didn't see ourselves in books. We didn't see ourselves in television shows. It was only because I was one foot in Nigeria that I'm very confident in my blackness, because Nigeria no good carry last, right? We're always very, we stand straight. Yes, we're proud. And I'm always so grateful for my dad that we always had that one foot in Nigeria, because I don't know how we would have turned out if we were 100% British. So it's really, really important that representation is key at an early age, because it informs our outlook in life. It informs that belief in ourselves that we have a right to be in any space, be in any room. And it's important for our children to know that as they grow up, so that even if they don't see, they already know. So that is really kind of key, but also about that inclusion, right? I was often say Nigeria has special needs itself. So people say it's a spiritual problem, but I say no, Nigeria is special needs
Oh,
itself.
wow. That's a way to look at it.
So what I try to get is to aim our advocacy at children, because they're open.
Yeah.
They're open. So they're our target market, because they're the ones growing up with my daughter. They're the ones who won't be just saying, oh, we should think about people like Simone. They'll be like, no, no, no. Simone is at the table with us. She is using her own voice. She is making decisions with us. Equality is key. It's fine to be different. We're all different. So instead of saying, oh, this person has cerebral palsy, why are we even bothering to educate them? Why are we bothering to do that? But all this technology that we're using, right? Our phones, the internet, read the huge progressive steps forward in technology have all begun because of someone who we would technically term as special needs, right? Because they're neurodivergent, they may be autistic in whatever form. So there is space, and there should be room for all abilities. When you restrict somebody, then you restrict their chances at life. So they should have a right to education. They should have a right to experience things that our neurotypical children do, because they become less of a burden on the state, and they become actually participants in society, because they're giving back, they're paying taxes, right? And they want to be part of society. They want to be given that chance. So that's the dialogue. There's no shame. You shouldn't be ashamed. You didn't have a child with special needs because you sinned or your village people have cursed you. It isn't a spiritual problem. Pray, but do. And that's what my message is. Pray, but do. You have to do it. I want to be old sipping margaritas. If I want to do a bit of hustling, I can, because I choose to. But we do the hard work now, so she can be as independent as possible. And so what has happened is that my journey has become my business. So Simone's Oasis is my foundation, and we use this creativity, storytelling, to raise awareness and advocate for children with special needs. So right now, my books, we're developing a pitch for an animated series. We've been invited to pitch my series my book series as an animation. God help me.
Congratulations.
And then we're working on a project called the Sensory Safe Puberty Project. We're doing some fundraising for that at the moment, and that aims to help educate girls with neurodevelopmental disabilities about puberty, personal hygiene, and personal safety. Because statistics of sexual abuse of women with disabilities, especially neurodevelopmental disabilities, is through the roof. So I want to say, well, what we do can help, lower those statistics, create tools and resources for girls to learn and kind of subvert these gender norms and reduce the barriers to education for these girls, but also empower their families, empower their parents, empower the community. And you can do that with whatever business you do. And I think that's why female-led businesses are so important, because they're community-driven.
And that is how you tell a story. That is how you weave one. And when they talk about how life throws lemons at you, you make lemonade. I dare say, when life throws lemon at you, don't just make a lemonade. Plant lemons as well. Gather a community and tell them the nutrients of lemon, and make sure that you also make perfume from the lemon skin. You make preservatives and just do so much with that lemon, because that lemon is more. And sometimes we don't even know that we need to feel a need until something happens that knocks us to the ground. And that's just so beautiful. Now, I want to take you back to something that you said when you got back to Nigeria and you had to reunite with the other half of your family. How, because a number of women go through that, which you also agreed with. How do you take yourself back? How do you regain your life as a woman who's gone through motherhood? You have raised children, and maybe you've had to deal with one thing or the other. How do you get yourself back?
So this is a very interesting question. I think it's a really, really good question, because I think the narrative is also about, when you have a baby, it's about how soon can you snap back? You'd be snatched and all that. And yes, I look good, people. I know. I work hard at it. But I think that's a narrative that has to change. You don't go back. You're never the same. You're improved. There are some things that don't work the same. They will never go back to being the same, and you just have to let that go. But there are things that are so improved. Your outlook changes, and your perspective changes. And if you kind of welcome that thought of, okay, I'm here to this point. Everything has led me to this point. What's the future that I want? And I need to begin to speak that future into my now. You might not be living that, but you have to really, it's recently, in the past few months, that I really looked into manifestation. And it's about affirming yourself, sowing those affirmations to yourself. I am blessed and I'm a blessing to others. It's not always about your bank account. But if it is, you'll be saying, okay, I am rich, I'm successful. Everything I do leads to success. It may not happen in the way you intend, but if you keep in mind that goal, you might not know how you're going to get there, but God will guide you through. So if you have that dream, if you have that fire, there's a picture, you just have to hold on to it and begin to kind of believe in it and believe in yourself. Because if you think about, oh, I want to go back, I want to be that person I was before, that's an impossible task. You have to love yourself as you are and accept yourself as you are. And then those things that you want to be, believe you are those things. Start telling yourself you are those things. And then you begin to work on that. Because if you are that thing that you are, then you do those things to be those things that you are. And so you begin to kind of fulfill that and work that into your life from the smallest thing, right? You've had a baby, you're feeling like you don't look beautiful, you don't fit into your clothes, right? It takes you a year to put on that weight. You must give yourself at least 1 year to take that back. But you say, okay, I'm fit, I am beautiful. So every day you start walking 30 minutes, 1 hour. Then the next week you increase. then you maybe add some weights, and then you believe that. And as you begin to see your progress, you are that person you believed you be.
I love it. Now, the other side of that, sometimes it's like people are trying to scoop out the water from inside their ship, and other people are dumping water into that ship. You know what I mean?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
How do you deal with that?
So I think maybe because I'm extra tall, I'm 6'2", my head is kind of always in the clouds. So, and I think also because I look different than most Nigerians, is that I've also been used to getting comments about the way I look from a kid. Every day someone say, "Ibo Pepe, this one, this one. Are you Nigerian? Half caste, mulatto. Are you Nigerian?" So I've always, from an early age, you're getting all this. After some time, you can't take it personally. It just goes off. I'm like, yeah, whatever. And I just keep it moving. So that ability to do that has translated into this. So a lot of times I may not get the cues, which I'm so grateful on because I'm so focused on what I'm doing. But you get people, pastors, they will ask me to send my daughter to them to remove the Down syndrome. People will say, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And I'll say, there's nothing to be sorry about. This child that you're saying sorry for has been my biggest blessing. Why would I remove my blessing? People, I'll tell you something that happened when I was going to self-publish. So I had done all the books, sat down with the printer, we'd worked everything out, and my books are 100% Nigerian, from creation to printing. Everything was done in Nigeria. So now it's about distribution, right? And so I start reaching out to bookstores and retailers to carry the books. And they start telling me that they don't carry Nigerian books.
In Nigeria?
In Nigeria. This was back in, this is, we're talking about 3 and 4 years ago, 2020, 2021.
As recent as that?
Yes. They would tell me with full chest though, that you don't carry Nigerian books, we only carry imported books. And I just couldn't take that. I just couldn't believe that. I said, if I was in England and they're going to distribute nobody's going to tell me they don't carry British author books. Are you guys okay? So it began thinking, what is going on? Are we so colonized in our minds? And you realize, wait, our mindset is so colonized that we believe anything that is Nigerian is of less value. So I went around all these different retailers and I started this thing called #OurBooksMatter. It was the same time of Black Lives Matter. So me, I was just like, yeah, man, our fist in the air, our books matter. So I started going around all these outlets, right? And I started videoing the children's books that they had on shelves, talking about it, and I would give them ratings and I would post it online. And I started shaming these outlets. And lo and behold, they started to carry some of our books and they started to carry arcane books. But then there was another level to that, is that you'll go there and our books are in the back.
Oh dear.
So how are people meant to see and buy our books if they're in the back? But our customers prefer imported books. How would you know that if you don't put them where they see them? So I would literally go around stores and start shifting our arcane books, not just my books, arcane books, to the front. There's a particular bookstore that was so mean to me. So one of our fellow arcane authors, Oluwaseun, and she also has a son with Down syndrome. She was doing a bunch of book readings, and she was doing a book reading at this particular bookstore and invited me. She said, come and help me. I really need your help. Help me read my books and read your book too. I'm like, would they be okay with that? I said, forget about that. Even sell your books right there in front of them. That's what he did. I sold out my books that day in front of the people, the bookstore, collected all my money. They did not make a dime. And today I've refused to put my books in that store. But it just shows we are so underestimating of our abilities and our qualities. Nigerians are the most intelligent people worldwide. In whatever field, we excel. It's just unfortunate here, infrastructure, corruption, and everything. But we need to change that, and that's changed from the community up, from people speaking up and demanding these things from organizations. And that's literally how we went about. And even though it's not as if most of my sales come from these bookstores, but it's important for them to be there. And it's still a struggle. It's getting better because of the work we've done at Akane and the work we've done at Simone's Oasis. But it's the same thing with schools, right? You look at the schools the books that the schools have, and the vendors are only giving Caucasian books. And I said to them, "We're Nigerian. Where are they? Don't you know there's Akane? Don't you know there are all these amazing children's books? Why don't you do? Oh, we didn't know, but you don't do your research. You know, it's very lazy as well. And I think this is wherever my children are, I'm always on schools, like, look, we need to empower our children. The hair that comes out their head is beautiful. The color of their skin is beautiful. Their home nation is beautiful. Let's encourage that and encourage them. All these, you know, Enid Blyton, all these things are great. They should study them and stuff, but let's also study our own."
Oh, wow. I can go on and on with you. Unfortunately, we're gradually drawing to the end of this conversation, and it's been so beautiful. Now, if you're just tuning in and you're listening to us, this is Smooth 98.1 FM, and the conversation is, well, on the show called Soul Sisters. It's about women every Wednesday from 11 till 11:55. We have been talking about, I think it transcends just having a business, but also the life of an entrepreneur, a female entrepreneur, a mother, and one who is meeting a need in the society. And that's what we've been on about for the past 42 minutes thereabout. And my guest is the absolutely energetic and wonderful. I mean, there are a number of adjectives to describe you, and she is Tonye Faloughi-Ekezie. Well, if you have any question, any contribution, anything you'd like to say, WhatsApp line is open. If you can quickly get in your thought, WhatsApp line is 0809 444 0981. Again, 0809 444 0981. While the call line is 0201 448 9981. You know, as you talked about going to the bookstores and co, I just cannot help but remember the words of Fela Kuti's Buy Africa. And part of the line is Shetiwa Miofe, meaning if it's ours, I don't want it. And it just makes no sense.
It makes no sense. It makes no sense.
Now I'm thinking, so as a female entrepreneur or as an entrepreneur, how do you deal with such cases? Because that you have challenges, especially the challenges that maybe are peculiar to your business or maybe to your gender. How do you navigate this without being labeled? I can only imagine that in their mind, they would have seen you as a troublemaker. How do you deal with that?
I believe my job is to make good trouble, frankly. I think also because of the way we grew up, right? My dad has always been about principles and integrity. And the one thing you must always hold on to is your integrity. So if you see something, you say something. And I'm going through something right now, actually, with an organization that's threatening to blacklist me because I'm questioning something that they're doing. And this is an organization that's meant to be holding up females, speaking for women's rights and women's human rights and empowering girls in education. And I noticed them out and I called them out on it. And their immediate thing was to threaten to blacklist me to their global. So if I want to apply for any more grants, they will tell their global community and stuff. And I'm like, you clearly have not done your due diligence on me, clearly, because my life does not depend on me getting your grants. And I think there's this perception about women in business and women entrepreneurs that it's just women business. Don't take them seriously. They're not good with money. Oh, they don't do profit, you know. Or there's just this view about women in business and funding women's businesses and funding kind of projects that are women led, and it's can make it very, very difficult. But what I'm learning is that I've got a great community and I've got a great network, and they are hearing about what this has been happening, and they've been raising money for my project.
That's beautiful.
So I think that women, we have to be quite thick-skinned. We have to remember our why, our purpose, and if you're truly for that, you find a way to keep going. And but you also have to be supported. You cannot do, having a business, you cannot do it on your own. You cannot. Even if you're a single woman business, you need support. You need people that speak life into you, people that you can speak to about your business and seek advice from. You need to train yourself. There's a lot of free trainings online these days, and you need to always make sure of your skills, that you're up to date with your knowledge in your area of specialization, so that when you do walk in the room and you're the only woman, or you do walk in the room and you're the only Black person, that you truly believe to your core that you'll have every right to be there, and you can challenge every misgiving. So I think we are taught as women, oh no, just be, just be, don't make too much, don't shake the tables too much, don't do this. But we know that change only comes when you do shake the tables. And yes, sometimes those who shake the tables do not benefit from it, but it's those others after that benefit from those people who shook the tables. And I'm a table shaker. I really believe in it. Not just a table shake, but for difference and for betterment. I mean, we as women, we deserve to be funded better. We deserve to be taken more seriously. And the data and the research around women's businesses prove that investment should come to women's businesses. Funding should come to women's businesses. Funding should go to girls' education, because we know that girls' education is subverted. So all these things are all part of what will improve things for Nigeria.
0809-444-0981 is the number to send your messages to. Again, 0809-444-0981. I didn't quite get your name. It would be lovely for you to add your names to the messages so that we know who's talking to us. But she said, God will bless your guest in the studio.
Amen.
She's so positive in mind. I've learned so much for me to know my why and want for my business. Now, I think one of the last question, maybe the second to the last, will be this thing that women struggle with. And I think we've discussed it before, but we can never overemphasize it. Imposter syndrome.
Girl. Yeah, I just got over that this year.
How did you do that?
So I was a huge sufferer of imposter syndrome. And yeah, I always did a really good job, but you question your abilities. You question, did I do this right? Are they going to like this? Is it going to be successful? Why, all kinds of narratives that are going in your head. Am I a good mom? Oh, why didn't I do this? This is how the conversation should have been. But what I realize is that everybody is having some kind of conversation in their head about that until they reach the point that I did this year of, actually, I deserve to be here. I have a right. I am who I am. And it was, like I said, April this year, I got the amazing news that I was picked for the American Express Common Purpose Leadership Program for NGO leaders. And that's a 6-month program. We do 1 week physically in London, which we've already done. And I was put in a room, it was 62 of us, of people I would never be in a room with. Amazing people from all over Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Some are working in huge organizations. And then there was me, this one person, special mom. So I was like, when I got there, I'm like, I don't know why I've been picked for this. I don't know why I'm here, because everybody here is amazing. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just like making this up as I go along. But as time went on, I realized actually, this is exactly where I'm meant to be. Actually, this is what I have achieved over these years. I've been the first in so many things. I've helped so many people. There's vision in me. There's success. And I realized that, God forbid, if I pass today, I know I've lived a good life. I know I've helped people. I know I've made change. And that kind of solidified it in me, in that, no, 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 I'm here. I'm who I am. I'm successful. I am blessed, and I'm a blessing to others. And it took that experience, which was so challenging. They put us through all kinds of exercises that you had to be forced to dig deep. And when I say every day, somebody was crying.
Wow.
But it was almost like therapy, because we never get to express ourselves and to sit in a safe space, and then you have to participate. You have to. And I'm not someone who's very I don't want to see that, inside I want to cry, but let me hold it together. But I was in a safe space enough that we could really share in these exercises. And I got picked for their storytelling program, and I presented in their storytelling program. And they recorded it, and it was the first time I'd watched myself. I'd done speeches and presentations, of which I am deathly afraid of public speaking. But this journey, because it is purpose-led, from when I started saying yes to people asking me to public speak. And a friend of mine who's an actor in the UK, he was like, remember that they're there to get the information from you. They want to know what you know. So it's not about perfection. And I think that's what the message is here also. It's not about being perfect. In fact, perfection is boring. It is those imperfections that make life sweet. So, we have to challenge ourselves, yes, but we have to speak kindly to ourselves. Mm-hmm. And so there's no need to feel that you're an imposter, or you have no right, or you're not capable. You're capable. You're there because you deserve to be there. And once you start believing that, it's really made a difference in my life. It will make a difference in your life. So let go of that imposter syndrome.
Well, it feels like this is the part where we just have to share the offering. The sermon today is complete. Thank you so much. That was such a wholesome conversation and very enlightening. I mean, I knew that it was going to be illuminating when we started the conversation. I just didn't know it was going to be this grand.
Well, I'd like to say that listeners, this month is Down Syndrome Awareness Month. So support any Down syndrome organizations. You can support Simone's Oasis, Down Syndrome Foundation Nigeria, More Rainbow Down Syndrome Foundation. You can buy our book from Reader Publishing for your kids. They're amazing. And yeah, follow us at Simone's Oasis as well. Thank you so much for having me. This has been awesome.
It's been enjoyable and delightful. Now, again, I don't know your name, but you said, please, can I have your guest's number? I guess they can reach out to you on Instagram.
Yes, they can reach out on any social media platform, where Simone's Oasis, IG, Facebook, I forget the other ones, X, was it Twitter? Yeah, I don't even know. And you can find me on LinkedIn. Tonye Faloughi-Ekezie, just look for me from LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn.
You might need to spell your name.
Oh, why now? Okay. Tonye, T for Tango, O for Orange, N for Nancy, Y for Yo-Yo, E for Echo. That's Tonye Faloughi-Ekezie. That's the Lebanese side. F for Frank, A for Apple, I don't know why I'm doing it like this, Loughi. And if you haven't guessed, I'm totally goofy.
Perfect for what you do, and the energy, I mean, it's just so beautiful. All right. So St. Faja says she's good, she's intelligent. I listen to her the whole time. Thank you. And Oluwaseun says, kudos to your guest. Our experience is so rich. Well, now is the time for us to say our byes and hasta la vista. Thank you for being a part of the conversation. Thank you for listening. And again, if you're just tuning in or you're just joining us, you've missed out on 50 minutes of wholesome conversation. But guess what? You can find a replay on YouTube, and that is at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Again, at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. And of course, you can find my guest on all socials. She's told you where and how you can find her. I think you're active on Instagram. What's your
Mhm.
Instagram handle?
Simone's Oasis or Tonye_F.
Okay, that's it, and you'll find out there. So next week we'll go again from 11 till 11:50 on Soul Sisters on the station that keeps it smooth with the great music. We love music, we love life. Now 12 p.m. till 4 p.m. is all about Africa. What we do is play you African music, Afrobeats, Afro jazz, Afro funk, high life, and so on. That's what you enjoy on the Casbah from 12 p.m. till 4 p.m. on Smooth 98.1. And yours truly will be hosting that as always. See you. Take care of yourself and be good.
This is a woman's
Thank
world.
you.
Let's talk about the
How long have you
way
been doing this?
women make up more